So we're discussing what is happening, yes?
Yes. Сегодня очень знаменательный момент. И в этом видео доктор наук Вернон Вульф расскажет, объяснит нам, что настала новая эра. Новая эра для всего человечества. Это рождение нового человечества. Это рождение людей света и любви. Давайте откроем сердца друг другу. Давайте будем настоящими, реальными. Мы все одна большая семья. Семья света и любви. И мы все вместе сможем изменить этот мир.
I would like to announce a birth. Now, it's the most important birth in history of humanity. So, what is this birth? Well, it has to do with what's happening in the new era. So we're coming into a new era. And in my life, I was aware of this many decades ago when I was just a young man. And so I dedicated my life to seeing if I could help with the birth process. And I found that there were blocks to it. And one of the most important blocks was the lack of consciousness among people. So I began to study consciousness. And I studied it first in physics. I wanted to see what was real. And then I taught science, and then I went into education because I wanted to see if people could really learn anything and be enlightened by learning. Found out after a couple of years of science that they enjoyed it, but they didn't receive much enlightenment. And so I turned to religion. I thought, well, maybe religion has the basis for enlightenment. I didn't know that the whole religious system was totally corrupt and holding humanity in a dumbed down, numbed out, divinized state, feeling like they're doing the right thing, but being ignorant and enslaved. So, I then turned to developmental psychology because it showed the patterns by which humans became more conscious and developed. And then, that was my PhD, I began to realize I got quantum physics to a friend of mine, and all of a sudden things began to change. I found out you can actually change consciousness, you can transform it. And so this became like a birth process for me individually. And as I got that information, I began to teach other people and hold little courses on it in groups. And then finally I developed a therapy clinic and began to explore the deeper dimensions of consciousness, the inner world. I discovered this inner world is as big as the outer world. We're in between, and so everything is conscious, and everything is made of information, and everything is holographic, and all my senses were holographic, and even the way we store the energy and the information and the whole experience of life is holographic, going through our holographic screens into our microtubules where it's stored, and then it's connected to hyperspace, and all of this is changing my entire life. So my birth process is something like a human birth process. And so that birth process begins to take place. But it's taking place now among all humans. So you look at my place here in America, and you see that this place has gone through a birth. Now the seeds were planted in 76 when they developed a Bill of Rights in the Constitution. And they were a free people. And within just a few years, those who wanted to control everybody, this few who think they have the right to control everybody, began to take over. They developed a banking system. Then they developed control over some political things, and then over some military things. And finally, by 1933, they had taken control of the entire government. So the birth channel was blocked. And the whole nation was stuck in this artificial, fraudulent, just totally evil group of people who wanted only to control us. And so they set up the entire system of control. By 1953, they had formed an agreement in secret that they would use computers now to control everybody. And they did. And they set up what's called the Silent War. So we're looking at it now, and we're saying, okay, what's happening now? Because people didn't just die, they weren't aborted in the womb or in the passage. They were still alive. And so some of them began to figure out how to get free, how to be born into the new era, because you cannot stop it. It's like a birth process that's life, and it's the life of a people. It's the life of all people. So this applies to your country and every other country, because all of us are the new birth being. And it is about being. It's about us being who we really are. And so, the birth announcement is, we're free. That's the announcement. We're now free. It's not a matter of getting rid of anybody or anything, because those who have been helping us have already done that. And they're not just here on the planet. They're from other planets as well. It's a galactic thing. And I know there are people who say, oh, no, another one of these galactic kooks. But there are other lives in other worlds, whether we believe it or not. They're visiting here all the time. The people from the future, the past, the present, and the future are all running in parallel. It's really true. Stephen Hawking was right, and so were the others. So you say, if that's true, then maybe the people from the future have been here for quite a while. And we have attributed this to divine beings, beings of light, angels who fly, things like that. And they just have the ability to travel in space. Something like, the movies, Star Trek and those kinds of, they're indicating that some things might be possible. Maybe there are wormholes and stargates we can travel through. And then you look at the old ruins, and you find these amazing rocks. They're 20-ton rocks. And carved into the rocks are things that would take something more advanced than even our lasers to carve them, out of solid stone. And the rocks have been moved like 200 miles up the mountainside. You can hardly get up with ropes and everything else. And so how did all that happen? Are there any civilizations older than ours? And would they want to be able to help us? And are they helping us?
У нас есть семья света из других галактик, из других систем, которые помогают нам сделать эту эволюцию.
And is that because they have actually planted the seeds in our own consciousness and then let us work it out? And here we are, little babies, compared to them. And we have all these little technologies we discovered only to discover that they had been discovered before, like 10,000 years ago, and been used and even more advanced. This is so exciting to somebody whose mind is open. And I realize what it means to have a closed mind. Until they open their skeptic framework and become open skeptics. And then they say, well, maybe it is possible that there might be beings older than us. As soon as you realize that, you can begin to listen to what the information is that's already there in reality. So my quest became how to find reality. I had studied the sciences, the educations, the religious belief systems, compared them, looked at how to integrate them with science, and taught that to the honors students at the university. And that was all fun, until I found out that the religious department didn't want me to teach anything but their dogma and religion. And of course, my interest and my passion has always been to be one with the people and one with reality, and one with nature. So we developed all these humanitarian projects and all of that. And we did it in faith. Because we couldn't stop doing it, because there's something moving us to do it. And it's the pull of what is the potential. So people like David Bohm years ago discussed how everything is driven by potential, including individuals and your holodynes inside and your relationships. They also have potential. And so do your families and your social systems, your clubs and your businesses and your whole government systems. They all can unfold their potential. But you have to learn how. So that's what we're doing. We're sharing how to do that. And it may seem like mother's milk to some of you, because you may be older and not want it, and you may do things that are successful and not so successful. That's also part of our learning process. So here's the announcement. The baby has been born. You are now free. All the banking systems that have been controlling everything have been disseminated, they're dissolved. They've been totally taken over by another banking system that is backed by gold. So all your currency is now backed by gold, whether you believe it or not. What are we doing? What can we do that will make it possible? Well, we can start by having simple things understood. We'll show you how the banking systems work. We'll show you how the entire system of trust works, and how it's a matter of trust, and how trust is worth more than money. So you become like one people who love each other, and who support each other, and who know each other, and who can talk about anything. There are no secrets in this new world. We'll show you why not, and we'll show you all the details of how it works scientifically, and then teach you the skills and give you the practice, and we'll have seminars, and we'll have counseling meetings, and all of those services will now be available to you because we've been developing them for decades, because we knew what was coming. And how did we know what was coming? Because the past and the future are all in parallel, and you can visit them, and we'll show you how. And that's good, because your whole family tree is involved. That is the family tree in the past, and the family tree in the future. And this is really exciting, enlivening, the work of the people of light. That's what it's called. So lighten up, and we'll have an adventure together.
Thank you so much for sharing this information with us.
It is my honor.
I really, really appreciate your big heart for all humanity, for Mother Earth, for helping us to do this step by step, to do this global transformation, evolution, transmission. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and being a great example.
Thank you. It takes one to know one. Thanks you too.
Thank you from my heart.
Yeah.
From all my country, for
Yeah.
all Russian-speaking people.
Yeah.
We love you.
We'll translate this into all languages, okay?
Yes.
Because it's for all people, yes. Thank you.